Alright, Travis, I have your videos that I can now do. I think you just wanted me to see you get fucked. I think that's pretty much it. I can give you some comments about how you're getting fucked, but this is the 4-person game, right? I can't really say something about the 4-person game. It's kind of hard. So I'm just closing out of this. It's not worth my time for the 4-person game. Alright, good job. One out of the way already, man.
It's alright.
This one halfway over already.
Disrupt and then dive. Doing the same thing we did.
Bar still right side.
Bar is that one.
Hammond on point.
Hammond's hack.
Hammond was asleep.
Lucio dead.
Lucio down.
Hammond half.
Tracers in.
Coming up. Diva. I want Diva.
Res.
I need heals. Diva's out of mech. Watch out for the pharmacy. Watch sleeping on point. Hammond's sleeping on point.
I don't know how I feel about that. Like, granted, the way that you're playing, you don't have too much information, and your team isn't giving you that much information. The only two people that are talking are me and Andy. Where's the pen? Why does it do that when I want to just bring up the pen? Okay, well, we can't use pen in full screen. That's cool. What's the closest to full screen I can get with this then? That works. That's actually pretty decent. Alright.
They're looking.
So you see a Farah.
Doing the same thing we did.
You hear the call out of their comp. They're looking to disrupt and dive. As soon as you know their comp, I think that you guys should start backwards. That's supposed to be a arrow, but it's not. So you guys should start walking backwards just due to the fact that you can't really fully contest a disrupt and dive. You're the main counter to a disrupt and dive, but it requires you to use your orb and your hook effectively. So this is really important. As soon as you have two options, you either back up if you don't feel confident with this comp, or you use this to get one of the major targets. So you use it here, Diva eats it, right? You can't use it there. You use it on the Farah so that she's an easier target for your team. So right now you're going to be split two ways. You're going to be trying to focus the Farah when you can with your orb and your rubber bullets, and you're also going to be looking to keep this team at bay while your team can clean up.
Bar still right side.
So
Hammond on.
as soon as you get dove on, you don't know what to do.
Hammond
You immediately use that, and only gets Diva.
was asleep.
So now you have the 8-second cooldown. You're in a bad position. As you can see, your hog's here, somebody else is over here, and your team has backed up. You're here pretty much by yourself. This area with 1, 2, 3, and a Farah somewhere up here that can also hit you. You're kind of fucked. If you read the map correctly, you should start backing up. You should have started backing up. As soon as you wasted this, see what you do next.
Lucio dead.
You guys get a pick.
Lucio.
Their team is just as uncoordinated as your team, so they don't dive on you.
Down.
Hammond half.
Tracers.
Fortify for no reason. They res Lucio. You go back in your bad spot, if anything. As soon as you went back,
Hammond on point.
Hammond's hack.
you should have continued to hold right here. This is your spot. You shouldn't have gone back to this spot. No reason to. Even if they were running, you go through here and you poke from here. You don't need to go back into this corner. Just due to the fact that now you know their dive, so there's no escape. I know Andy told you that this is the best corner to hold, which is normally true because they'll normally run a Ryan Zarya comp, which means they have to come through here or they have to go through here. So if you hold right here, you have the best of both worlds. You have all of this corner to play around. They come this way, and then you can easily swap to this side. But when they have a dive, you need to figure out a better spot than just right here, because they're going to disrupt your team.
Bar is still right.
Alright, moving forward. Oh my. I moved way too forward.
I need heal.
You lose him.
Demon side of Meg.
You're still in a really bad spot.
Sleeping on point. Hammond. Sleeping on point. Coming on point.
You drop. You have no idea where your team is. You listen to the come on point.
Hammond's one. Hammond.
Not too bad. So this entire time, which isn't entirely your fault, but this entire time, you used your shield just to protect yourself. Again, that's not entirely your fault, but you had no idea where your team was. You're not playing Reinhardt. You had no idea where your team was. You couldn't fully figure out where to be at the right times. And because of that, your shield was just mainly used to keep yourself alive. So your team's getting wiped. No big deal though, you guys lose. I don't think that one was winnable. Any sense. I do want to watch how you played these Reinhardts because I believe this team is the one that was bullying
I
you.
don't think what I was gonna work. You can swap off.
GG's back line with me.
Yeah.
You're down one. You should. Your shield's also at half already, so you should definitely start backing up. This right here, I know your team should say it. Definitely, your team should say it. But this is your best friend. You should have it in your head to look up here, because your team is human. Sometimes they will forget to say it. As soon as you were down one, and your shot caller didn't tell you to push up, you should have started backing up. There's no way to keep the space that you just got when one of your main DPS is down, and a Genji is now in your backline.
Alright, can we...
Not bad shield lapping. You back yourself into a corner though, and you die probably because of it. Yeah, that's a corner.
Alright, everybody come back to spawn.
I think you should have just charged. Yeah, you were at 500 health. You should have just charged.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Alright,
Yeah. As soon as they started rushing you, just charge.
yeah, you're getting hyped.
Their Rhine wasn't even that good either. He should have charged you. Whatever. Moving forward.
Got a Meg, so we got advantage.
Alright, let's push. We're all here.
Where's Genji? Genji's right side. So there's maybe Demon.
Top right.
These shield tops aren't the greatest. You're kind of just hopping up and not gaining any momentum. It just seems like you're hopping in place. You might want to work on that. You were doing it fine when you were backing up. I don't know if it was because you were taking the Ryan swings backwards or what, but here you're just jumping in place pretty much.
She's gonna get back, but she's
I'm
in
low. I need heals, please.
Shield's already half. You lost your healer.
You gotta back up a bit.
You're backing up. Yeah.
Well, that's a good ult on his part. Like, waste of an ult.
Even the right wouldn't work.
Let's try this again.
Catch him off. Genji's behind us. On our...
Your shield's already 300.
Straight in.
Okay.
They're
Genji's
pushing.
still
Good,
behind.
I'll dodge it.
Above us.
I do want to say this. Corners are Reinhardt's best friends. Even if you have no vision around this corner, your hammer can still swing and hit people over here. So next time you're in a corner and you still own this area, so none of your team died, you owned this still, you should not back up all the way and you should swing on a corner. You would have gotten some ult charge. You probably wouldn't have gotten a single kill or anything special, but you would have gotten some ult charge, which is helpful.
Genji killed me on the right side. Genji's right side
You're
is
down one.
He's left now.
Thankfully you didn't get hit by that, but you should have at least tried to counter charge it.
Type trans.
We are all left.
We're all here.
Genji's left. He's up on
Genji's
high
on top
ground.
of us now. I'm gonna go try to get the Genji.
So their composition is just gonna pepper your shield. This is one of those compositions where you don't need to hold up your shield the entire time. The Genji's gonna be behind you 24/7, and the only person that your team has to watch out for is Hanzo. So long as you shield jump properly and play corners with your team, the Hanzo shouldn't be an issue at all. The only person that they should be worried about is Genji. But because you're letting them pepper your shield, because you're scared for your team,
Let's go to Ryan.
you almost never have it.
Genji's behind us. We
I
need
have
to
my
kill him.
ult.
We're just.
Genji's dead.
Okay.
Genji's dead. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, 77.
You have your ult?
Yeah.
Discord Eva.
You're still wasting your shield there.
Discord
That's
Ryan.
eaten.
I'm getting full boost right now.
Hanzo's left side.
Walter can get tested.
Yeah.
Dead.
You should play aggressive here.
Behind you, Lucio's behind you.
More aggressive.
I have visor.
Diva's on
You should have
left
played
side.
way more aggressive than you did right there.
Oh.
Oh.
My bad.
You were already ahead.
I do too.
Hanzo's top right.
That should have been your fight regardless.
Oh, I spawned right there. Game's
Sorry,
fine. I still have ult.
I do too.
Hanzo's top right.
Yeah, on this
Let's
side.
combo shatter and grab. I can't get the Hanzo top right. Alright, I'm moving.
He's gonna be behind us, watch. He's going into the window.
He's half. He escaped.
Yeah, he's out.
Genji's,
Genji's
on
top
top
right
of
now
right.
too. Hanzo dropped.
Okay. Well, you should expect him to have shatter. You didn't counterpin that. You didn't expect the shatter either.
Stun him, stun him, stun him.
Dana turns.
You have to pay attention to his shatter. You most likely know he's going to have shatter. He's also charging recklessly when he only has a diva. You have a Zarya. You can contest those really well. Because if you both get knocked, Zarya will give you her shield. You won't take any damage, and your team can focus that Rhine.
Dana turns.
You're playing really passive.
I'm
They're
down.
round one. He was at a
Genji
meta.
dead.
Lucio behind. On you, Andy.
I'm missing every shot.
Are we kick?
Just back off for a bit. You're down heals.
You don't really need to poke with Fire Strike considering you have Earth Shatter.
We gotta.
It's just a waste of a cooldown and it'll make the enemy get their ults faster.
Shatter, behind him.
They have Tracer now. Instead of Genji.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how you play this.
So we can play aggressive here.
Tracer's back line with me. I can't see you. You're on your own.
They're in there.
I'm caught off now.
Damn. I'm in trouble.
Tracer got me. She's back line.
Overall,
They just pushed me so hard.
I'm gonna say fuck everything else. For the most part, I'm gonna be focusing on
On your own.
the
So stay with your
Rhine versus Rhine matchups and
help. That's all.
how much they bully you.
Down one.
Yeah.
They're down.
I think that there are ways for you to live through the bullying and also get your team ahead. And I definitely think you can play these Rhine v Rhine matchups a lot better than you are.
Diva bomb. I'm done. I tried to get her on the corner.
Like that, I wanted to tell you a couple games prior, but I decided not to due to the fact that I didn't think we would see that many Lucios. Better Reinhardts don't need to track a Diva Bomb like that. They can tell based on sound in order to block it. And when you can't tell based on sound, the Lucio will get in you and knock you up, making your team susceptible to those Diva Bombs. You should definitely take that into consideration now. You either have to tell your team that you can't block it because you're going to get booped, because that Reinhardt was also right next to you. So you either have to tell your team that you can't block it and that they have to find cover, or realize that Lucios that are decent will get inside of you and knock you up, or try to knock you up when these things are coming. Because your team just died because of that mistake. Your team just died because you didn't know
That was like
how to handle that.
Alright, we got 3 ults. We just go.
Shields on top. Tracer no recall.
Not a full waste shield.
Oh,
That's an issue that you have a lot. Your main tank, your Reinhardt. You're supposed to be paying attention to the enemy Reinhardt. If you're frontline right now and you don't see the Reinhardt, chances are he's probably going for a flank. Most of our team can't call it out because they won't have the same sight lines that you do. Just, you gotta call things out. You gotta have more awareness.
We're still even. You're 18, you're 18. Fight this, fight this, fight this, fight this. Just
Tracer loading.
close, behind the magazine side.
I'm with you.
Dead. Skipping forward again.
touch last second.
Not gonna touch. That's done.
Get low health.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alright.
Lucius coming to boop, quick roll.
Never an Ash and a Widow.
Till Bastion.
We're backing up.
Of course.
Yeah, fall back Keenan.
Lucio on me.
Always a bit disrespectful to see a Bastion. So you're not paying attention to your surroundings again. You're kind of just focused on here. So you heard Lucio right, and you also heard 2 of your teammates go chase after this person over here. They're going to have to cross this way. The least you could do is take your shield, block a portion of this so that they don't get gunned down by the Bastion.
Road's left side.
Widow's going through
I'm
coast.
low.
See, you had to back up and your
Bastion is
team died.
destroying me.
You're backing up still, and 2 people now died.
No, you have no healers.
Yeah.
I can't play Widow in this.
Yeah, then swap off.
And now you guys are dead.
What do you want?
So
Whatever you think is gonna contest.
I can't
Yeah,
change.
it's too late.
Yeah.
there's 2 options there. It's go in or die the way you just died and do nothing.
Use tire to get the Bastion. They don't have
If you're gonna die anyway, your first option is probably the best option.
Oh, dead.
They still have a Bastion. Holding this corner is not the best idea.
I'm gonna play Tracer so that way I can help you, Bastion.
You're wasting your shield right now.
Bastion ult.
That was a complete waste. You should ult there? Okay. That's a game.
He murdered that tire.
Get on the point, Walter.
You had a full 3 seconds where you could have ulted,
That's a
Good
good
job,
job,
man.
Good job, man.
but I don't think you noticed. No big deal. You definitely still need to work on the Rhine versus Rhine matchups. They're still lackluster completely.
It's between.
Oh shit, yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is where you get abused, right?
Watch out
Push
for
the
the
point,
point.
yeah. Yeah, watch the point. Just push the point now.
I'm not gonna talk about that. You did hear watch out for pulls, but no big deal. You almost got knocked again because you have no idea what's going on your surroundings. You're kind of just walking forward mindlessly, and because of that,
Can we get this Lucio in this corner?
Where's he at?
you're getting fucked by these boops.
He's trying to push us off again.
I can't see this. Watch out for Jack. He's in the middle. Is he? Let's go. We're good.
As soon as your team ulted that,
I mean, I'm not questioning it because we can't cap the point, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you probably should have charged it. Are they down at Doomfist? Yeah, they're down at Doomfist.
Watch out for
And your team ults it.
Let's go.
You should charge it. Your team's gonna fight it anyway.
That's 2 picks.
That's 2 picks now.
Let's go.
Do not get booped.
You have not been in a single fight
We can still win this.
because you keep getting pulled. You know the people that are able to do it, but you keep getting attacked by them.
Get a wrist to everyone. Get a wrist to everyone.
Lucio's one.
Let's get a wrist to everyone.
Okay,
I'm stuck.
let's see what happens.
Wrist is being frozen. Let's go.
You haven't charged once either,
Closer to me too.
and you're dead. You got focused hard by that.
Teresa off. Never mind.
Trace is one.
It's overtime. You have shatter. Should probably just use it eventually.
I stayed on point as long as I could.
You got this, Chad.
Teresa off. Never mind.
All over. I'm off.
Oh my.
Yikes. Anyway,
Not our comps. We're countering them for the most part.
let's see how you get abused here.
I'm in here by myself.
Yeah. Okay, we're with you now.
Alright, let's go. Monkey
Alright,
behind.
I'm out of mech.
Doomfist low.
Far as I'm back line.
down.
Far as behind you guys.
Monkey's on point.
We're even.
Monkey's dead.
Far as
You get stuck on a lot of the environment, which makes you slower than you already are. You're Reinhardt and you're making yourself slower.
He was down.
That's probably not the best option considering,
Get Lucio now.
you know, you want to be the front line, especially as a GOAT's composition.
Doomfist no punch.
You're missing a lot of fire strikes. For the majority of this stuff, you almost have no idea what's going on. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still relatively new to the role. But by this point, GOATs is really important of a composition, and you're really important to GOAT's composition. You need to understand what's happening. You can't get stuck on environment. You can't get lost in environment. You can't not know where people are. And you have to hit things. I'm not saying all the time. Everybody makes mistakes. But what I'm saying is you need to not make these mistakes that a lower tier person would make. And that's what's getting you stuck. You're having an understanding of what to do. You pick up on that relatively well. It's the fact of small, minuscule mistakes that you make that will affect the larger picture. The most of the people that I coach don't have an idea on the macro of the game. Obviously, they're making small micro mistakes like aim, where to be, things like that. But your micros are so minuscule, but there's a lot of them. There's so many of them that it makes you a worse player because of them.
Winston asleep.
I'm one on E-heals.
You missed 3 swings on the 3 health Doomfist that charged at you. You have not charged a single time, and there's a monkey that's ulting in front of you. There you go. You charged and you missed everything. Instead of walking forward at a Pharah that's ulting ground level to make her kill herself with it, you walk backwards.
Got it. I'm grabbing this. Focus the grab.
And you hear focus the grab, and you continue to focus somebody on the right side.
Focus the grab. I'm dead.
You have shatter midway through this grab,
Winston asleep.
I'm one on E-heals.
and nothing died in the grab. You might as well just use it there.
Bear will have ult soon. Careful.
Get knocked back. You don't charge for the longest time. As soon as you get knocked out of the fight, you should have shifted. Everything's so delayed. You walk back away from the ult after you get powered up. You get ult. You focus Doomfist while your teammates say focus the grab. There's 3 in the grab, and they all have Lucio ult. They all live. There's now 2 in your sight lines with a diva on the left. You wait too long and they all disappear.
Thank you, Doomfist. He knocked me out of there before he was sleeping back.
You still have your ult.
I'm down.
You're now 190 HP. You're now 0 HP, and you had your ult for about 30-ish seconds.
So we.
Nothing died. That actually was a lost fight because you held your ult.
Yep,
I got it.
They're focusing in there.
So, Reinhardt in 2019 is about getting bullied. But if you're a good Reinhardt, you can bully back regardless of what their comp is. Unless it's a Sombra, Doomfist, Zarya, Reinhardt, I guess. And a couple other things. Like a Sleep and a Anti. And a Zen Orb. Oh, and a Zen Orb. You can bully. As long as you play your cards right. They're not a completely fuck Reinhardt comp. This wasn't a complete fuck Reinhardt comp.
I got thrown into the back
We're
line.
not
I'm sorry.
focusing these targets. That's why we're not winning that fight.
Nah, yeah. It's been that
Doomfist
like
down.
that all map though. Alright,
Alright, I'm here.
we're all grouped.
Winston top right. Top right.
Alright, let's go. He has no jump. He can push.
Bars top left up above us with Mercy.
Cut the point.
You're half health. They're gonna focus you.
I'm down.
3 of them are down.
3 are dead now.
What about Doofus?
You shift, you miss everything again. Your meteor strike.
I'm coming back.
Gotcha, Walter.
You have your shift up again.
Doomfist got me.
You
Let's go.
aren't shifting anything.
Winston dead.
You don't need to immediately shift, that's not what I'm saying. But when there's a target with no mobility in your face, it's a free, it's free damage.
Oh no. Down. You're down and on a.
Just back off. Just reset.
Okay.
And then you got fucked.
Beating us out.
I got you.
They're devolted.
Why is far losing?
Alright, this is the last fight.
Because you're
You've had your ult for the entirety of this game. What do you do with it now?
I'm on Diva. You guys know bomb too. Get monkey now.
Shift this?
I'm down.
Don't shift
Bear,
this?
kill me again.
Okay. You still have your ult.
Focus the monkey.
You missed the monkey in the ult. That was really bad, Travis. You still have your ult.
Good chatter.
Been knocked around.
I'm sorry, I booped him back.
I'm dead.
I don't think I can get there.
You took the entirety of the game to shatter. It was a good shatter, don't get me wrong. That was a really good shatter. But you took the entirety of the game to shatter and then you lost the game. I'm not your main coach, so I can't tell you what to do in order to get progressively better. I actually can't. Sadly. But I'm letting you know right now, you have so many micro mistakes, and it affects your overall gameplay. You're inevitably bullying yourself. You have so many small mistakes that anything that this team does right, you feel like it's fucking you over. But in actuality, it's this person that's fucking you over. Held ult. I'm not gonna type all that out. You held ult for way too long on that last fight. You got stuck on environment throughout the entirety of the things that I watched. You did small micro things like shield hopping, corner swinging, things like that incorrectly to the point where if you did them right, you would have had a better chance. Yeah. Listen. This game has no real 1v1. Like, in this game in particular, I've had the best feelings of 1v1s than any other game in comparison. This game gave me the Rhine 1v1. I'm not a Rhine main anymore, but the fact that you can get inside the Reinhardt's head and outplay and manipulate the way he's playing in order to play around you, it's nice. And you're not doing that. You're really messing up significantly. So work on those small things. Stop getting caught on environment. Work on shield hopping. You need to figure out that Rhine v Rhine matchup soon, because you're getting fucked by other Reinhardts. That's not what I wanted to open.